Okay, everyone. Thank you for coming out to the Oblivion Gallery for our guest artist talk today. It's a great honor to have Sandy Brown Jensen's work in this wing of the gallery, her photography and printmaking. And she's agreed to do some storytelling about the work, the process. Sandy is a very well-known photographer, artist, art critic, community activist, all the things. So please welcome Sandy Brown Jensen.
Thank you so much. Oh, it's hitting that. Okay, we don't want that to happen. So this morning when I thought about speaking to you, I wrote in my journal. I have a lifetime practice, and later you could take a look at this beautiful handmade journal by my sister. It has one of my images from here on the front, and at the top she wrote, "A heart for any fate," which comes from, trying to remember, "For I must be up and doing with a heart for any fate." Do you know that from Tennyson or one of those? So what I want to say to you is that when I was a very young girl, growing up in the apple orchards on horseback along the Wenatchee River, I lived inside the dream that was my family unit. My father was a World War II veteran. He turned his government issued gun stock into a camera mount. He was a soldier who remade himself as an artist. My mother fell in love with him when she was only 11 and he was 13. They married during World War II, or at the end of World War II, and they raised us 4 siblings and many more like a pack of wolf puppies. We'd follow them wherever they led. We were a backpacking family. We explored the splendors of what would become the North Cascades National Park. In our backyard was a range called the Enchantments. And the older I get, the deeper the mystery of their unshakable, expansive love affair becomes. My father's clarity, my mother's ecstatic nature. If my mother met any one of you here today, within minutes, she'd bring you to tears. You'd be holding hands, and she would give you this ecstatic message. You are divine. Your nature is love. I love you unconditionally. You came to the world for a reason. And my mother would stop people in the streets. I would see her talking to homeless people, and they would be crying. Or in a grocery store, and she's reached out to the cashier, and they're holding hands. And that's just her message to the world. She was a profoundly ecstatic soul. She reached deep into the other side, into the other world of spirit, and brought it with everything she had into this world. Of all my beloved siblings, for much of our mutual life, I was closest to my sister, my older sister, Cheryl. She was a watercolor artist and a watercolor teacher who suddenly passed 2 years ago, which combined with the death of our parents, left me, I feel, hopelessly lost and increasingly looking to the past for a way to express what our life together had meant. My earliest memories are being with my dolls and a cat underneath a weeping willow tree. So we were inside looking through the trees into another world. I remember making a nest in a meadow, braiding the grass up over my head until I looked out through the layers of leaves. I dug a hole there and I buried a tin can I had filled full of stones and shells and a skeleton of a mouse I found in an owl's pellet. I lived then, as I realize I do now, at the edge of the great mystery, between the two worlds. I was accompanied in those days, as I often am now, by an enormous giantess who was real in one world and imaginary in the other world. I came to understand while exploring those magical apple orchards which are no more, that I was always in the company of wild animals that loom large with their vast energies and their knowing eyes. When I was a young girl, I lived my life by intuition, imagination, and dreams on that river's edge between two worlds. I've never stopped living in that world of layered lights and wordless shadows. In college, I earned my MFA in poetry with a thesis about the shamanistic role poetry has in connecting the world of the rational with the world of the imaginal. I went on to have a career in teaching, writing at LCC, where my Writing 121 classes were called The Hero's Journey. Although I succeeded at teaching at LCC, says my husband, the teacher's life was a difficult one for me, and I gladly retired from it in 2015. I turned, somewhat bruised and battered, to my father's love of photography and my sister's love of abstract realism. After a few years of experimentation, I turned back to these images which first formed my earliest heart. My desire then, as it is now, is to somehow to convey through art how the light of that other world always finds a way to stream into this one. I developed a technique of printing on transparency film and then coating the back with 24-karat gold. The result is a soft, golden glow that reminds us that the spirit of love is always closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. The pieces I chose to show on the left-hand side of the gallery are for my gold and silver leaf work called I Dream in Gold. On the right-hand side is my effort to explain what I feel when the spirit leaves this world and crosses over the great river to that other world. I call this collection Where Memories Softly Fall. And these are primarily printed by O'Brien Imaging on a beautiful watercolor paper. Then I cold wax them by hand. The word cold is a misnomer because the wax is very warm under my hands when it goes on. And it creates a very rich, old world surface where the light can come in. So let's take a look at just a few from each collection. This is the Walker of Quiet Paths. And I put her first because I feel that the child who I was, I still am. I'm still this walker of the quiet paths. I loved Red Riding Hood as a child. I was never afraid of the wolf. And I felt that she was the perfect expression of a youthful spirit, alive and creating in the forests of the Great Pacific Northwest. So it celebrates the journey of introspection, also the ancient call of the wild and the self. Is that my signal to him? This is called the Quiet Heart. This is a subtle miracle, a perfect heart formed by the dry grasses up at Mount Pisgah. It suggests a moment of gentle departure. The spirit has just taken flight, leaving behind this warm impression of protection and love. And it also, I love to take pictures of grasses. You know, Pisgah is fantastic, meadows, and I take endless pictures of them because they remind me of that time as a child when I would braid the grass over my head and be an animal in my burrow. Yes? Next, okay. This is called Tender Passage. And you'll see a few landscapes in there. This is a familiar backwoods trail at Mount Pisgah. It's transformed into a sacred space The spirit light inside the trees serves as a golden beckoning presence that illuminates our way forward. I'm sure you know this light. It is so typical of where we live, and I think it calls all of us to stand at the borderline between two worlds. Next. I talk a lot about the animals, the wild animals, and this is a series of raven pictures. When my sister was passing a couple of years ago, my other sister, Torn, and I were there. We had to leave and come back to Eugene. And the last thing Cheryl said to me, she says, "Whenever you see a raven, I'll be there." I mean, what a legacy. It's like, no, I'm stuck with ravens. But we started seeing ravens. Everybody in the family is now inundated by raven symbolism. But this particular raven is important. I was with another friend from deep in time, and we had gone out to Hasita Head, and we were up there on the overlook on the barricade where you could see the lighthouse. And Peter and I really our first love affair began at Hasita. At the LCC used to own or rent the innkeeper's house. We met there at a retreat. But I was showing Mary Shannon, look, that's where Peter and I met. And as I had the window down, I had my cell phone out, and this raven just came and sat on the barricades. You know how it is, your car is here, the barricade's there, and there's the lighthouse, and just sat there. I'm like, cell phone, I'm taking pictures. Goes out and comes back, and goes out and comes back. I got 100 pictures of this raven. So this is a raven master of Hasita Head, bringer of light. So that was the first big raven picture. Okay, next. Behold, I am raven. This is the persistence of light. This is more of an illustration, not based on a photograph, but illustration. I use Procreate. I have a raven just banging through from the other world with those messages for us. Next. This is Mistos in the Grove of Titans. You can see the 24 karat gold is out at the border. This one is back to gold. And this particular raven, Peter and I were at the Redwoods, actually not that long ago, a couple years ago. And it was raining. Peter stayed in the car, and I wanted to go into the grove. And as I was the only one there, it was drizzly, and this raven came right down and started following me into the grove. And when I got into the Grove of Titans, raven just jumped up on one of the branches of one of the great trees and smiled, and then jumped to another one and posed. And because of the lens I was using, inquiring minds want to know I was using a lens baby, you can see the beak. It looks like it's poking through to the other side, which was a phenomenon that came with the particular lens that I was using. I didn't plan it. When I looked at it, I went, oh my God, couldn't have planned it better. Next. And this one, you see in the eye, is the image of St. Kevin. St. Kevin is the patron saint of ravens. This is a quote from Seamus Heaney: "Alone and mirrored clear in love's deep river." And if you don't know St. Kevin, he was the saint who went out in the springtime, and he was so ecstatic, like my mother, just holding up his hands. And a sparrow came and started to build a nest in his hand. And he was so compassionate, he didn't want to disturb her. And he stood through the entire season with his hands out, through the entire season of raising the chicks. And when sparrow finally flew away, he was beatified. So, next. I'm going to switch over now to the other wall, where memories softly fall. And I tried to get them in the order that I wanted. That day that I told you about, my sister and I had our last moments with Cheryl. And we came down the Columbia River It was November. The colors were wild. It was very, very late in the evening. We were on the Washington side. And she was driving, and I was shooting. Again, if there are any nerds out there, I was shooting hipstamatic with a couple of impressionistic settings. And I just shot, I don't know, 50, 60 pictures. When I got them home, I was like amazed. And I used them as a basis then for visual collage. So this is called Yellow Bird, Why Do You Come? And it's when the message comes to cross to the other side of the river of life and death, the spirit is already in the boat, ready to cross. So that's my sister. The little yellow bird by her hand has come to tell her that she needs to cross. And she's there in that great wilderness, which is on both sides of that river. Next. We're from Wenatchee, which is the apple capital of the world, hence all the apples. And this was taken there. And Fox is one of her spirit guides. And here's Fox curled up in the earth. My sister had a green burial, which I think is very beautiful. And that alludes to that, but also just the fecundity of autumn and the richness of the world on this side of the veil. Next. I did this one for the Day of the Dead show at Maud Kearns. It's called Her Marigold Heart. And again, there's the image of my sister, an actual image. The marigolds, I thought of this when I was in Australia this summer, and I texted my husband, Peter, I said, run out and take pictures of marigolds in the garden. So he did. When I got home, then I started compounding them and doing different things with them to create a sense of a green burial. But, marigolds are the flower of the living and the dead. And the dead smell the flower, and they come close to be with us. And that's the whole idea of the ofrendas that you saw at the Day of the Dead show. Those huge offerings which have the favorite foods and the favorite drinks of the person who has passed and all their favorite things. But there's always marigolds to draw the spirits closer. Next. So this is, as Torn and I were coming down the Columbia, this is the first image that came to me, which is of her raven, ashes and ascent, the spirit taking off. And this is, again, taking with hipstamatic, but I also keep art journal, and I do all kinds of collage with tissue paper and whatever the heck I want to, And what some of the tissue paper work and the raven I did with Sumi ink and close-up pictures of the paper or the artwork. And then I transferred it into here. The rest of it's just a natural scene as I took it. But then I had layers of my own art on top of my own photography. So layers. And it's all like the phoenix rising, the spirit rising. Next. This is a descent and departure. Again, you can more clearly see the tissue paper, the wings and the tail, and the Sumi ink with the bird. But the rest of it, you might recognize. There is a truck going toward one of the tunnels on the Stevenson side of the Columbia. And my sense is that the spirit is headed for the tunnel between worlds. And the raven has gone as far as it can, to say farewell. Next. And like the yellow bird, why have you come? This is called the wildest angel. And it's on the other side of the river of life and death. And the spirit returns to being a child and is an angel. I really love this picture a lot. The little girl that I used is my niece. My great niece. Yeah. How did I get that old? Isla. And I had given her the wings for Christmas. And her mom had sent a snapshot of her with the little wings, and she was running in these little red pants. So cute. But it also seemed to me and she has the same blonde hair that my sister has. Everybody in my family are blonde. So now I am too. A little help. The sense that whatever age we are, when we pass over the river, we return to being our angelic state. Okay, next. And that's fox will guide her soul. So the fox has come also, and the raven. Next. We all shall rise over the landscapes of our childhood. And you'll see the bird shapes from my journal on the right flying up. This is where we were raised in eastern Washington. Like all the spirits of the people over the generations just rising up. And there's another photo that goes with that called Joyous Memories, which is just birds, rising and ascending. That joyful spirit. Next. Her wing is always over us. If you live in the Whitaker, you'll recognize this is Rhododendron House on the corner of Blair and 2nd. And the raven, the shadow of the raven passing over in blessing. You'll see another one that I'm not showing you here, but I have it in the corner over there, is of their green cat. I mean, their green-eyed cat. And it wasn't that big, but I blew it up into a big spirit cat because he just seemed so pretentious. Okay, next. In the glory of the maples. So this is, again, it's at Pisgah in autumn, late at night. I'll bet you all know this tree. It's just one not far from the big barn there on the hillside. But it was just, the light, I mean, always the borderline between the light and the dark, this world and the other world, imagination and materiality. In the secrets of the trees. Yes, and next. And on the edge of the Oregon world, again, the dark and the light. Those borderlands, the river, the ocean, between the everyday world and the dream world. And I'm sure you all know exactly where I mean. I think that's it. Thank you for your attention. I appreciate it. I'm glad to answer questions about anything you want. Thank you. I found a pile of prints. I literally found them in my office. I don't know what. But I'm selling those for $40 a piece, just for the show only. And then there's a lot of other things as well. Also, I'm doing a giveaway of a beautiful little Barossa Joey that I took this summer. And it's got 24 karat gold. And you could leave your email. I'll do a drawing for that. Okay. Thank you.
We also have an email list for the gallery if you'd like to receive one email a month.
Okay.
That email list is on the office.
Anything you'd like to ask me? Yeah, Lynn.
What's the Instamatic?
Hypsomatic.
Hypsomatic. Is that an app or is that?
It is an app with multiple cameras and multiple lenses. And just go online to Hypsomatic. It's like a whole community online. Or if you go to Instagram and put in Hypsomatic, you'll get a sense of the variety of images.
Spell that.
H-I-P.
Okay.
Hypstomatic.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a huge community. Very supportive and interesting. They have all kinds of lenses that do weird things. Yeah. Anything else? Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for telling us stories, Sandy.
My pleasure. I just have to know when to stop.
So where are you now going to be working on as far as a project? Do you have anything in mind?
I can tell you, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. I also make videos as an art form. I write poems and put them to music and make videos. I'm taking a class in collage and doing hands-on stuff. So I'm sort of getting into this whole transmedia idea of doing a show that's just transmedia with a video booth in a corner. And anyway, just dream big. You never know, you know.
So if we add our email to the list, regardless of what happens with that photograph, will you keep us up to date on your?
Sure, sure. If you're on my mailing list, I'll send you stories about my family, new pictures and the stories, whatever creative thing is coming off the. My website is called Mind on Fire, so it's always so whatever's kind of spinning off, I put in I'll put in my newsletter and let people know.
You show with a lot of different galleries and art spaces all
I
the
do.
time, so that's another way to keep up.
That's right. I do show at a lot of art spaces. And I'll let you know. I'll invite you to special things. And if I talk Peter into a big party in the backyard, like, no. Anyway. Okay.
It's beautiful work.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, wow. Cool.